Hi, I'll be showing you cinematic Minecraft clips while telling you about some of the most ridiculous, goofy-ass stories from my life. Like the time I sprayed rat fetus juice on my friend's face. Alright, let's begin. So, spoilers, I'm from New York City. Bing bong, chopped cheese, you know. If you don't live here, then you might have heard some stories about this place. Maybe you've seen TikToks, Instagram reels about rats as big as your foot dragging slices of pizza around. They're all true. I was walking home one time and my foot accidentally caught on the edge of a big pile of trash bags and I saw a pack of rats run out from underneath. This other time I saw a homeless guy on the street pull out his schlong in broad daylight. New York is kind of like an SCP. There's just insane stuff happening here all the time. There was that cheese ball eating thing and that Miku lookalike contest recently. There's also this one video from a few years ago where a guy threw a bicycle onto the subway tracks, and then the train ran over it and the bike exploded into a shower of sparks and yellow smoke. The trains are never on time in New York. I was later absent 36 times to my first period class in one semester of high school, and stuff like that is part of the reason why. And it's also why I thought the video was so funny. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, the following funny stories are all true, and they're all pulled directly from my life growing up in New York. Like most kids in New York, I started taking the subway by myself in elementary school. I think sometime around 4th grade, so I was 10 years old. This one time it's the middle of winter. I'm minding my own business, waiting for the train so I can go to school during early morning rush hour. Now, on New York City subways, the best seats are the ones right next to the door, the coveted corner seats. Those seats are really nice because if you're sitting on a crowded train, you only have to touch legs with one dude instead of two. So I get on the train, it's not too crowded. The corner seat right next to the door is empty, so I sit down and start dozing off. A few stops later, a mom with a stroller gets onto the train and she puts her kid down on the seat to my right. The kid has a bag of hot Cheetos that he's munching and crunching on. The kid suddenly stops eating, goes completely still, and he leans forward a little bit like a shrimp. I look over to see what's going on. As soon as I look over, the kid liquid projectile vomits all over himself. It's pink and chunky from the hot Cheetos. About halfway through his vomiting, he turns his head towards me and continues vomiting on my right arm. I'm wearing one of those lightweight down jackets, so it is not waterproof. Any liquid will soak into the fabric. I didn't know this at the time because I was 11, so I just sit there and think to myself, oh dude, this kid just vomited on my sleeve. I look up at the mom and she's wiping her kid down with wet wipes. She looks over at me, stares at me for a few seconds, and offers me some wipes too. I take a few and clean off as much of the vomit as I can. I can't remember exactly what it smelled like because it was so long ago, but it smelled pretty disgusting. So I sit there and I'm like, alright, whatever. Can't really do anything about this. And I think I either went back to sleep or I just sat there and stared out of the window. The mom and his kid eventually get off the train, and the seat they leave behind is not clean. There's a small river of pink chunky goop that's still in the seat. I'm sitting there and staring at the vomit. Then some guy in business casual comes on the train. He does not look down and immediately sits on top of the vomit seat. He was very quick with it. I did not have the time to warn him before he sat down. And now, because he already sat down, I cannot in good conscience tell him that he just sat down on vomit. You know what I mean, right? That would ruin his day. And I didn't lie because I never said anything. I never told him about the vomit. He probably never found out and lived happily ever after. Yeah. Then I got to my stop. I went to class and I told everyone what happened, but no one really cared. That's not the worst thing that happened to me on the subway though. I'm going to tell you about the single most atrocious, despicable thing that I can remember. Fast forward a couple of years and I'm now in my sophomore year of high school. I'm still taking the subway every day. It's 7 a.m. on a Friday, almost to the end of the week, and I'm extremely tired because I stayed up last night doing absolutely nothing. It's raining outside and there's a bunch of black, muddy water all over the place on the subway floors and in the station. I get off at Lexington Avenue, 59th Street, to transfer to the 6th train, and it's packed with people trying to get to work. Now, the station is big and it has 3 levels. On the bottom level are the express trains. I'm on the middle level and I'm trying to get up to the top level so I can ride the local train to school. Now, in order to get up to the top level, I have to walk up a set of stairs. This is extremely important. These stairs are connected to a walkway that's suspended over your head. I'm going to put up a video of the exact set of stairs that I'm talking about here. Now, as you can see, people can freely walk back and forth underneath this walkway. The problem is there is a massive crowd around me on the platform, and I'm basically fenced in. The crowd slowly pushes me forward. I'm inching closer and closer to the stairs, and my head passes underneath the side ledge of the walkway. I feel something drip onto my head. It sinks pretty deep into my hair, and it's spreading on my scalp. I'm like, oh, it's raining today. The subway system is old and it's pretty leaky. That's gotta be rainwater. I roll my hand through my hair and I smell it. It smells like human diarrhea. It's human poop, bro. I go up the stairs and onto the walkway, and it turns out that some homeless guy took a liquid dump on the floor and it's just spreading everywhere. Some of it dripped onto my head. What do I do? I'm not about to go home. There's not enough doo-doo on my head to justify that. My only option is to continue with my day. So I take the local train and I speed walk to school. I run into the closest bathroom. I squirt a bunch of soap onto my hand, and I just start lathering and washing my hair in the sink. A guy I know walks into the bathroom and he asks me why I'm washing my hair. I tell him what happened. He said something along the lines of, "Oh, that's crazy," and he left. And I go to class. Alright, I've been mentioning school a lot. I might as well double down here. Let me tell you a few stories from my high school. These are their titles: Plan B, The Rat Fetus, The Baby Project, and The Infamous Trash Locker. Here we go. There was this guy on my grade. I remember him being kind of baby-faced. He was a very tall dude, at least 6'4", 6'5", or 193 centimeters if you use the metric system. And this guy would just eat random stuff as a joke. It was very funny every time he did it because you didn't expect him to actually eat the thing. I'll tell you about 2 of the worst things I was able to see this guy eat. One time we were doing a chemistry lab. I think it was a membrane diffusion lab, I'm not sure, but I remember there was this glass bottle of blue dye that the teacher was using for a demonstration. So we're all sitting at these black stone lab tables, finishing out the experiment. I look over and see that this dude is telling everyone around him, "I'm gonna drink the dye." And everyone's going, "No way. You can't eat the dye. It's poisonous. It's gonna kill you." The teacher leaves the room. This guy immediately stands up, walks to the front of the room, grabs the bottle, unscrews it, takes the glass dropper from the top, and squirts a full load of dye right onto his tongue. I see him scrunch his face up, and then he runs over to the sink and starts rinsing his mouth out. I remember sucking the ink out of a ballpoint pen when I was in first grade. It probably tasted like that. So the teacher comes back and we're sitting there. Everyone is dying of laughter, but we can't show it, or else bro would get caught. It was so funny, but we could not snitch. Someone searched up what kind of dye it was afterwards, and it turned out to be carcinogenic. That was not his worst offense, though. We had health class, which is basically sex ed class, for a year or 2. I was never on time for that class. They would do demonstrations sometimes and pass around stuff. This one time, they passed around a Plan B pill, an emergency contraceptive pill that they got from CVS. Dude, this pill had synthetic female hormones in it. Guess what this guy does? This guy, he opens the packaging for the pill in the middle of class. The teacher's not paying attention because they're talking to someone. We're all looking at him, and he eats the Plan B pill. He swallows the pill, shows us his mouth under his tongue, and there's nothing there. He also ate a guy's arm hair once. I was sitting next to him when he did it. Okay, that's enough. I don't want to talk about this guy anymore. Here's a shorter story. We had a biology lab once where everyone was given a pregnant rat to dissect, and we had to write a lab report on its organs and what the babies look like. We were working in groups of 4, and we had to get a close-up on the rat's uterus and the little baby rats. The scalpel was dull to the point of being unusable, so the only way to get the babies out was to use your fingers. No one else wanted to do it, so I gently opened the rat and used my bare fingers to pull the baby pouch out. The rat was soaked in some kind of preservative agent, which turned its fur yellow and made it smell disgusting. There were maybe 6 or 7 of the baby rat fetuses all wrapped up in this tube-shaped membrane filled with dark-colored liquid, like a string of fleshy beads. We had to draw a picture or something of the individual fetuses. You couldn't really see inside though, so I needed to get the amniotic sac open. How? I don't know. We had 3 reasonably sharp things there: a scalpel, a metal toothpick looking thing, and tweezers. Okay, the muscles and membranes in this rat are very tough and slippery. The scalpel is unusable. The best the toothpick thing can do is poke holes in the rat, and I can't get a good grip on the tweezers because both of my hands are soaked with rat juice. So I'm there trying to get the fetuses out of their sack, and this one guy is leaning in to get a better look. I have an epiphany. Instead of using the pieces of trash tools that we were given, I could get the fetus out by squeezing the sack like a grape. That's what I did. Yes, I know. I squeeze the sack, and I pop a fetus out. The juice inside goes everywhere. A bunch of it gets right onto the face of the guy leaning in. He gets mad. He's normally a really chill, smiley dude. This is the first time I've seen him so angry. I can kind of understand why. I run over to the nearby sink and squirt some soap on a paper towel, and I run back and start wiping this guy's face down. I'm laughing extremely hard this entire time, which is making this guy angrier. After we finished the lab, someone smuggled their dead preserved rat out of the class and hid it behind a toilet in one of the guy's bathrooms. The entire place smelled like formaldehyde, or whatever they used to preserve it, and rat corpse, so no one used that bathroom for a while. Now, I'm not trying to glamorize my time in high school. 95% of it was spent in a tortured, sleep-deprived haze. 4% of it was alright. 1% of it made me laugh so hard my ribs would hurt, and that's the part I've been telling you about. I'm going to change it up a bit. Here is a story that falls squarely in the tortured, sleep-deprived 95% part. I'm going to be doxing myself a little bit here, but whatever. I think the story's worth telling. In my sophomore year, we had the baby project. We were given a robot baby, and we had to take care of it for a night. We couldn't drop it or break its neck because it had a sensor in the neck joint, so if you didn't provide support for the baby's head or accidentally smash its skull on something, then it would start screaming. Very realistic. The baby would cry at random intervals, and we had to guess what it wanted. We had to either feed it with a little bottle, change its diapers, or burp it by hitting its back. We were also given a little waterproof wristband that we could not take off. Whenever the baby wanted something, we had to wave our wristband on the baby to unlock it first. It was to make sure that we couldn't get someone else to take care of our baby for us. Basically, we had to be a parent for a night, and we would bring the baby back the next morning. They would then dock our grade for the project based on how busted the baby was. For some reason, we could only be given the assignment on a weekday, not including Friday, so it was guaranteed that we would have atrocious sleep in the middle of the week, and still have to go to class the next day. I chose to get my baby on a Thursday, and I was able to coordinate the time with a few other people, so we could all get our robot AI ChatGPT Grok looking at baby on the same day, and we could pull up to someone's house and make something out of this whole situation. Now, the baby's temperament was randomly determined. It was a complete gamble. Your baby could cry 20 times during the night, or just be chillin' and want a little bit of milk now and then. I got lucky. My baby only cried maybe 5 times maximum. I still got no sleep though. I'll tell you why later. So we get our babies, and we all decide to go to this guy's house. I'm gonna call him Bro. Bro has a very nice house with a huge basement. The problem is he lives 1 hour and 20 minutes away. It is what it is. What can you do? We walk down to the train station, and okay. Imagine being a normal guy just trying to go home. You see a group of teens get in and stand next to you. They're all cradling life-sized infant dolls like footballs. The train starts moving. One of the dudes accidentally trips and drops their baby, and it starts screaming and crying in the middle of the subway car. The guy turns and looks at his friend. He says, "Gang, it's so over." Dude, what in the world is going on? We eventually get to Bro's house and order pizza and wings. I don't even remember what we did the entire time, honestly. Most of them go home. Bro is very nice and he lets me sleep over. That was a humongous mistake. His mom pulls out a futon for me to sleep on, and I'm lying there in Bro's bedroom right next to his mattress. I knew I wasn't getting perfect sleep, but I hope I could catch a few hours at least. Maybe even a little bit of REM sleep. So I'm lying there. It's been a long day, I'm tired. Bro is sleeping next to me. He starts snoring so loud that I think he might be choking. By the way, we have our babies on the floor, side by side, so we can monitor them. Mine does not cry a single time during the night. His baby bawls for milk and poops itself 4 separate times. His snoring kind of covered up the sound of the crying, so I have to get up and shake him awake so he can take care of his baby. This goes on for several hours. It's like 4 a.m. now, and because Bro lives on Pluto, we have to wake up before 6 so we can get to school on time. I walk to their living room couch, and I lie down there to try and get some sleep. It doesn't work because I can hear him snore through the wall. Insane. It was the first time I ever needed to pull an all-nighter. I'm pretty lucky in that regard. His mom was very, very nice to me and made us a big breakfast, but I didn't have much of an appetite because I was just focused on keeping my eyes open. I remember sitting in history class the morning afterwards, and I was blacking out for real. I would lose consciousness and I would have to catch my head in free fall because I was micro-sleeping. But I was an all-nighter noob, and I didn't know the pro hacker trick of having your bro by your side so you can pinch your schlong when you start falling asleep. Now this is just what happened during my baby project. Based on what I heard and what I saw on Snap Stories, there was some funny stuff going on when people did theirs. I was in high school 5 quintillion years ago, so Snapchat was still relevant then. I remember seeing someone dangling their baby by the foot off of the roof of an apartment building. Some other guy took a massive mouthful of water and spit it all over their baby. And then there was the usual backhand slapping and elbow drops and stuff. Okay, one last story. I'm going to tell you the lore behind my school's infamous trash locker. Every single year, a couple of guys would get together, devote themselves to a greater cause, and make a trash locker. What does that mean? What is the trash locker? We, and I'm saying we, but I'm not including myself in this, I'm just saying the people who are responsible, would pick a random unused locker and throw as much trash inside as possible over the course of an entire school year. We would prioritize food wrappers and things that would decompose a little bit but wouldn't stink too much, like leftover tin foil with burger sauce on it, the urea inside cold packs, stuff like that. The point is to keep the trash locker going for as long as possible. If it started rotting and growing mold, then we would have to shut it down, because the school staff would smell it. I did say this, but someone stole an entire pumpkin during Halloween and put it into the trash locker. Also, someone may or may not have peed into a bottle, and then they may or may not have put that bottle inside of the trash locker. That's actually not even that bad, because the bottle was closed. The piss guy later emptied an entire canister of coyote urine into the locker. Here's a few pictures of what the lockers look like at their peak. You can see the piss bottle at the bottom. I also have a video of a guy dumping a tub of spaghetti with tomato sauce into the locker. I will not be showing you that video, but I can show you a cropped screenshot of it. At the end of each year, we would clean the locker out. We made sure it's scrubbed down completely and odorless, and then the next year, we would start anew with a fresh locker. Technically, no harm done. If there was a person who started the trash locker, it may or may not have been me. I am not saying it was me. I am not admitting to anything. I will just tell you what happened from my point of view, and you can draw your own conclusions. In my first year, I noticed that there were a lot of empty lockers in the hallway. I assumed that they were free to use, since weeks went by without anyone putting locks on them, and they did look awfully lonely. I was assigned the locker like everyone else, but I forgot which locker was supposed to be mine. One day, I had an epiphany. My bag was feeling awfully heavy, and most of that weight came from the sheer number of worksheets and printed packets. So I picked a random locker, and I started to put that locker to use. Whenever I finished a unit test in a particular class, and I knew that I wouldn't use any of the old material anymore, I would clean out my folders, crumple up all of the papers, and throw them into my locker, because I wanted to see how big the pile would grow. And it grew pretty big. I didn't put any food trash inside at first because, well, I was still using the locker and I thought it would make the entire hallway smell terrible. In retrospect, that's not true because lockers contain odors pretty well. You can't really smell anything unless you get close or open the door. Anyways, I kept it to strictly papers, random scraps from my notebook, and broken pencils. But one afternoon, I was eating lunch and someone gave me their pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream because they didn't want it for some reason. I was like, let's go, free ice cream. I wasn't about to hold it in my hand for the rest of the day, so I put it inside my locker. I never took it out. I did not remember that there was a pint of ice cream in my locker until a week or two afterwards, when I wanted to shove more paper inside. I opened the carton, saw the lukewarm goop, I stuck a finger inside, and I ate some. At that point, I just stopped caring about the food trash thing. Whenever I finished eating takeout or halal food, I would put the plastic tray with any leftovers and the bag inside of my locker. At the end of the school year, I showed some people the mountain of accumulated garbage because I thought it was funny. And that's how the trash locker began. As you can see, I'm innocent. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.